All right, welcome. We are going to be doing this little wolf or coyote howling at the moon scenery here. This is actually like a rock that is just, it kind of gives the impression that it's a coyote howling at the moon. So I thought this would be a good painting for me to show you how we're going to be using Papa and Baby Bear in this painting as well. And remember, we will be advancing to color, but right now I just want to show you the basics. So we will be doing black and white paintings because I really do think that you will transition very smoothly over into color. I am using oil paint. Again, if you're using oil paint, you will need some Gamsol or some kind of paint thinner, very simple. And if you're using acrylic, you'll need water. Now remember, you need to prime your paper. All I did, again, I took that 11 by, what was it, 11 by 15. I just kind of cut it in half. It doesn't really matter your size. We just need something to paint on. So remember, we need the paper primed gray. The reason we do this is because if I want to throw in highlights, I can, and they will show. If it's just white paper, I can't go in with my highlights and start doing highlights. So this is why I like gray, because I can lay in highlights and it'll show up, it'll pop out, and I can also lay in my darker colors and it'll show. Now, as we start advancing, we will start using a neutral browns, like a raw sienna or a raw umber, and we will you'll understand why we're doing that whenever we lay that down for our paintings. So right now we're just doing gray so that you understand that we need the highlights to show, right? So that's why we need to have something other than white. All right, and then again, I've just got I like flat brushes. I have found, or the angle brushes, because I have found that they do just about everything I need. But if you don't, that's fine. Flat brushes are great. I wouldn't really use a round brush for this. That's more for organic shapes. That's great for clouds and things like that. But I can even create clouds with a flat brush. So if you have angle brushes, great. I just have a few sizes right here, just so I can grab them whenever I'm painting. But I would definitely invest in some angle brushes because I really think that they are extremely effective and very versatile. You definitely need a large one so that whenever we're color blocking, you need a large brush. So if you need to pause the video, if you need to go ahead and have your gray paper, go ahead and do that, and we will begin. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I want to go ahead and put this moon in. Now, anytime in nature, now this is Papa Bear, around the moon is usually going to be a lot brighter. So we definitely want to, before we lay in the moon, I'm just going to pick up some white and I'm just going to scrub in some brighter area. This is about where I want my moon. And I'm just going to kind of scrub that in. Now I'll Baby Bear this. And I have found that with making a perfect circle, I tell my students this all the time, if you use a paintbrush, it's not going to work. And we have to Papa Bear the moon. The moon is a Papa Bear because the moon has a very distinct circular shape that if it's not perfect, it looks weird, or at least close to perfect. What I like to do is use my finger. Okay, so I'm going to actually dip my finger in a little bit of paint, and I'm just going to keep doing these little, just going to keep doing this until I have a nice, and I think the moon's going to be a little bigger than that, but you just keep going around until you get it close to perfect. Don't have to be perfect, but do you see how this really just helps you get those, define those edges? You can go in and fix whatever you need to. Paintbrush cannot really give you this effect. Now we're going to be adding some detail in this moon. We are not done with this moon. But for right now, we just need to set it in. Remember, this is just our first layer. We have to lay in our skeleton, Okay, that's what I kind of call it. It's just kind of our skeleton of the painting. All right, so now I'm going to pick my big brush back up, and I need to go ahead and put in my horizon where the water, I guess that's water behind there. So we are going to, this is where I'm just going to pick up some black. And I think I want it about here. And I'm just going to pull this little horizon back. And you can just kind of pull that on down. This is going to be the water. And it just kind of gets that paint out of the brush. Perfect. All right. I'm going to go ahead and start laying in my darkest parts of the painting first, since I've already got my brush black, so it's definitely going to be the water, and then I'm going to go ahead and start laying in this really dark sky up at the top. And remember I told you that artists will, to pull the eye to the center, will darken the corners and edges of a painting. That's a little trick they do, and it just really pulls your eye to the emphasis of the painting. And the emphasis is whatever it is. Now, if I want a straight, I really want that horizon pretty straight, because that's a Papa Bear thing. Horizons are pretty straight. I'm actually going to wet my brush to get a really nice crisp line. You want your paint thinner. Okay, so whatever medium you're using, whether it's oil or water, I just wet it, and I'm just going to pull this across, and that way I've got that really crisp line. It's another little trick when you want a nice little crisp. I had to learn that myself. As a matter of fact, most everything I have taught myself, and you know how I taught myself? By making the mistakes and then figuring it out. But sometimes that's the best way to learn. So that's why I always say you need to just pick up your paints and you just need to start doing it. It's okay to watch artists for a while. I know I did that. I loved watching time lapses. I loved watching the process. It was very soothing and relaxing to me. So if you even find yourself not doing this and actually just watching and listening, it's normal. I did the same thing. But eventually you need to pick up that paint. Go buy the stuff and you need to do it. All right, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to pull down that sky. Now I don't have gloppy paint here. Anytime you're blending, you don't want gloppy paint. You kind of want a scratchy brush. So it really helps just kind of blend it on out. And again, this is just our first layer. I'm just trying to put something down to build on. I need something to build on. All right. Now, I'm just going to take the scratchy brush because we do have some mountains off in the background, and I'm just going to go ahead and lay in my mountains. So I'm just going to take the scratchy brush. I just need something that I can start adding my highlights and I need the skeleton, right? I need the skeleton of the painting. So I'm going to go ahead and put in these little mountains off in the back. Perfect. All right. So now I am going to, all right, so this is where we have to Papa Bear it because I'm actually going to put in this coyote. Now, if you notice this little, now again, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is a rock formation, so we don't have to Papa Bear it too much. It's kind of half Papa Bear, half Baby Bear, because it is a rock formation that is supposed to just look like a coyote. But we just need to remember, if you notice the mouth, we're just going to create almost like this little V here. The bottom part of the mouth, you just want to make sure it's shorter and it's thinner than the top. Okay, and then we're going to come in, we're going to put this little bump, we're going to do a little ear. Pretty simple. So what we're going to do now, if you want to kind of take a pencil and sketch it in first, you can, but I just say pick up your paint and do it. Now, because I want a crisp line, what do? You want to make sure that you wet your brush a little bit. That's going to give you a crisp line, and I really need that crisp line to create the shape of this coyote. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to about here. I want his nose here, and I'm going to create that V shape first, but I'm going to make sure that the bottom part is down, further down. All right, so to keep this simple, let's just go ahead and do this shape here. Okay, just gonna do this. Just a little, there we go. So now, this is where we're going to put a little bump right here. That's his little head. Put a little bump. And again, it's okay if it doesn't look perfect like a coyote because it's just a rock formation. Okay, and I'm going to put a little hump here, a little hump on the back. Go ahead and fill this in here. And then right in here is where I'm going to just put the ear. Okay. There's a little ear. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring some black paint down and just kind of create the rock. Now you want to kind of be random with this. Just going to kind of create this rock here. This is where we're going to go in and add our highlights and our, now don't worry so much about, we can always go back and fix. If you get that wrong or if it doesn't look right, it's okay because we can go back and fix it. We can always make it bigger. Like look, I can make it bigger. So I'm going to dip my, so if you make a mistake, I'm going to make this a little bigger. Got this little here. I'm going to put the little bump on the head, and I'm going to put the little ear back like so. Okay. Perfect. If you hear my dogs barking, especially in just a little bit, I'm sure they're going to start barking. I just got a new puppy, so that's been fun and exhausting. I usually I get up every morning at about 5 a.m. and usually I have no problem doing that. I feel real rested. But she's up every couple hours, and so now I'm a little groggy when I get up that early. All right. This is going to come kind of off to the side here. I know it kind of looks weird now, but we're going to pull it together. Remember, we just kind of have to lay in some type of a basic something right now. We have to build on it. All right, so now, and I like the size brush here. I think I'm going to keep it. So now I am going to pick up white, and I'm just going to start adding the snow. And I'm just doing these strokes, these very random strokes. And I'm kind of doing it in curves, like the snow is coming off of the cliff here. Just some random, and again, we're going to come in with more highlights and stuff. Right now we just want to kind of lay in something so it's not just all black. I'm going to go ahead and put like some snow coming here. Very random, very random. This is Baby Bear. All right. this out just a little more. I want it to do this. Yep, there goes my puppy if you can hear her. She is a little hot mess. You know, I watch her and she is so happy. It's so interesting how puppies are so curious and just so happy about the world. I love it. I love watching her play. And somewhere along the line, though, animals lose it. Even, you know, it seems like with every animal, like all the little animals play, but they just stop playing. Even little calves, you can see little cows out there playing, but you hardly ever see a big cow play. All right, so again, it's weird right now, but we're going to come back and fix all that. All right, so now I'm just going to take this brush that I've got the white on, and I'm just going to start scrubbing in Baby Bear in it. Some snow on these mountains back here. Perfect. Now I'm going to come back in with some black and define it, but right now, also I'm going to put a pretty bright horizon where the snow has come down off the mountains into the water and kind of brighten this up here, just to give that definition. All right, I'm going to Baby Bear some highlights in this water. And now we've already done water, remember. Horizontal, random, very Baby Bear, Baby Bear. Horizontal, Papa Bear, random highlights in this water. Perfect. We can always go back in with some darker black to really define that water. So we will do that at the end. All right, so now I'm going to take, I want some black now. I'm going to dip in black. And I'm actually going to create, this is going to be like the wolf's neck right here. So I'm going to really darken this up here. I'll let this dry a little bit, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to really darken some of this up. And then I want some dark in here. So anywhere where you think there's going to be, you're going to create a deep shadow wherever you think there's going to be, you know, it's like some grooves or whatever in the rock. All right, I'm going to pick up white and I'm going to start laying in some, I'm just going to scrub in some clouds back here. I'm going to blend out these, I'm going to soften this edge here. Just going to soften that out. I'm just kind of scrubbing in. I'm Baby Bearing these clouds. And that's okay. I can get some darker. That creates depth. Sometimes I use my finger. I will use my finger, especially with clouds and stuff, a lot, because I just like the effect. It's very smooth and misty, and I do like the I'm going to pick up some white. Remember I told you to really create that definition. Like there's my mountain, so I'm going to brighten up. I'm going to keep that pretty bright so you can really see that definition. Those mountains. Just come in here. I think I'm going to brighten this up in between his mouth and around the edges. Now this is where also, if you mess up, this is where you can take the white and fix it. This is where I just want you to play with the paint. I really want you to just kind of get a feel of what the paint does on the brush. I'm going to go back and fix that little coyote, don't worry. All right. Right at the tops, I'm going to pull in some dark. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Now I'm just kind of creating some depth. I'm baby bear in it. These mountains right on the edges here. Now remember to create distance. It's going to almost blend in with the air. So I'm not going to darken too much here because these are far, far away. So I'm going to kind of leave all of that pretty misty. You can pick up some white, add some highlights, baby bear it. That's what I love about mountains. Can't really go wrong with mountains because from a distance it's so beautifully random. Pick up some black, maybe define some here. All right, I gotta put this wolf's head and ear, I gotta put his ear back on. But I want you to see how you can always go back and fix whatever mistakes. We do have a very distinct hump though, right there on the forehead on a coyote. So this is kind of Papa Bear here. We got a little hump. Just make sure this one's smaller. Make sure that little ear is kind of random right there. You just kind of play around with it until you get it about how you want it. I'm going to go ahead and add some white. I want it to look like we got some snow coming down in that. This is where I'm going to make it random. This is where I'm turning it into a rock that just kind of looks like we would have some snow kind of settling in here, right? I'm just kind of barely tapping here. We're going to be creating some depth all in here. I'm going to let this kind of dry a little bit though. If you're using acrylic, we need to let this dry and then we're going to come in and add some really white snow here. All right, I'm going to put some more brighter snow. Remember our fat over lean, so now I'm picking up a little more paint here to add the snow on these mountains. We're baby bearing this. You want to baby bear it. Alright, I'm going to add some brighter clouds in here. Just the tips of them. I'm going to take my finger and you see how I just kind of mist it out towards the bottom and I really give it that little crisp edge up at the top. I like that. And a little highlight. That's what I love about painting. You just really just do whatever. I love it. Set that moon back, adding a little bit darker colors around it. I got some little wispy clouds up here. See how this is a little flat here, and I told you if you ever see anything that just looks a little flat, you need to add either more shadow or highlight just to kind of create more depth. All right, so I'm gonna actually pick up my big brush I need a lot of white here now, and I'm just going to start laying in white. This is the snow coming off of this hill, and it's kind of going at an angle here. Perfect. We're going to go back in with some deeper shadows here. We're going to create some little rocks, and right now we just need the snow. Look like it's coming off here. Beautiful. Kind of blending this in together. I want it to look like one piece. And it's all mountains. Ooh, look what your finger does. See how that just kind of, I love using my fingers sometimes. It just gives it a nice little misty look. Soft. It softens it. That's what it does. It just kind of softens it out. All right, so now I'm going to add black down here. I'm going to create these deep shadows. Right in here, we got some rocks coming down. And usually right above a shadow, we have a bright highlight. So anytime you have a really dark shadow, you usually have a really bright highlight. And I'm going to go back up and I'm going to darken this. I keep losing his ear. You got to put his little ear. Make sure he's got a little ear. Now remember, this is a rock formation, so do not work too hard about getting this to look like a wolf, because it's probably not going to look just like a wolf. We just want to give the impression that it's a wolf. Again, I'm just going to add some more depth in here. Baby bear in this. I'm just adding some more depth. Okay, now I want to add some highlights where the snow is really bright. We're doing our fat over lean. Okay, so right above these deeper shadows, I'm putting highlights. I'm baby bearing this. Baby bear. Bringing baby out to play. Put these back in. Ooh, there we go. Some bright highlights here. Oh, my camera didn't go off. I have to keep freeing up space on my phone. So I have to delete apps, but it's okay. All right, I'm gonna go back here at the horizon where the mountains, do you see how that just really defines? See how that really pops out where the mountain and the horizon meets? All right, so now we got to do that moon. Now we know the moon has craters, so I'm going to actually dip my finger in a little bit of black. And I'm just going to kind of go in here, and I'm going to add some shadow in this moon. Now the moon, where it's Papa Bear too, is it's usually very bright around the edges. Okay, so we kind of want to keep the edges bright. And I'm going to go back in here with some white, just to put in some random white. Now we've got craters. Perfect. See how lovely and quick that is? Just adding a little bit of texture in that moon. If you want to brighten it up, add a little more white. But we've got to have some dark shadows. We definitely have to have some darker shadows in the moon. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to do our stars. Remember, I just like to flip my brush upside down. This gives me a nice variety. You don't want all your stars the same size. Don't place them in Papa Bear. Do not place them in Papa Bear. This is all baby. We want little ones, big ones. I'll even pull some down here. Maybe some of them will show down in here. All right, I'm also going to go back into that water with some black. And I'm going to add some depth. Okay. Baby bear. I'm just creating depth. I need more black paint. Usually we use white paint the most as artists. We cannot keep enough white paint. That is for sure. Horizontal. Perfect. If you hear stuff, it's my neighbors next door. It's right out my bedroom, my studio den window here. I'm usually not on this side of the house unless I'm painting. All right, so this is about what you should have. I lost his ear again. How do I keep losing his ear? Okay, so this is about what you should have. Again, we're just playing in this paint. This is all we're doing. These are not our masterpieces. This is just you understanding value. You understanding we cannot be perfectionists when we're painting. You understanding where we're going to lay in our highlights. Where we're going to lay in our shadows. Perfect. And see, like I'm gonna add, this is a little flat here, so I gotta add some more depth. Anytime something looks a little flat, to add the dimension, you have to add either more shadow or more highlights. I think I'm gonna go back in and add some of my bright horizon here. Don't have to be perfect. I'm just kind of randomly throwing it back in there. All right, so you should have something that looks about like this, and you can just kind of play around with your little mountain here. There goes the dogs. I knew I couldn't get through one tutorial without them. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. I would like to, I'm gonna be picking out another really pretty scenery, probably a meadow of flowers next, so we'll probably do that. All right, everyone have a wonderful, beautiful day.